Hello everyone. Today we're going to be taking a look at the game General Quarters 3, another naval miniatures game. Now, General Quarters 3 differs quite a bit from the other naval games that I've featured on my channel, mainly because it's a chart-based game. What do I mean by a chart-based game? In the other two systems, it's pretty straightforward. You take a dice, you go ahead and roll it, and there'd be some sort of target number which would tell you a specific thing happened or didn't happen. In this system, instead, what you do is you have a chart, which I've got next to me on my little binder here, that tells me what the interpretation of a given result is. So for a quick little example, let's say that the USS Blakeley is for some reason attacking one of these merchant ships right here. Normally what you do is you come over here like this, you take this, you measure center to center, you get a range of 3. This game uses centimeters for 100 yards as its scale, which is a little bit more complicated. So if we were to take 3 inches and multiply it by 2.5, that's going to give us 7.5. That's 75. You add the 2 zeros, 7,500 yards, which is not, 750 yards, which is not terribly far away. Taking a look at our little range chart, we're going to look at the weapon itself. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 main battery weapons. I'll kind of hold this up so you can see this pretty clearly. They are all in the correct arc. So what we would do is we take a look over at the chart. In this case, it's a 5-inch weapon. Scrolling down to a range of 750 yards gives us a 1 plus dash 3. What does that mean? That would mean that we get a successful hit on a 1. We get a successful hit on a 10. We also get 2 hits if we scroll a 2. And we also get 3 hits if we roll a 3. So that's a little interesting. So when you go to make gunnery rolls, as you'll see when we get to the actual game, you're actually going to be rolling 2 dice here because of the fact that there's a 1, 2, 3, 4 divided by 2 main batteries. Things get a little complicated on the Graf Spee because of its unusual battery setup, but we'll take a look at that when that happens. So in our example, we'll go ahead and pretend we're attacking the AK. We get a 7, no hit, and a 3, which means we actually get 3 hits. So what you would do now is you go ahead and you take a look at the chart, and 3 hits from a destroyer hitting an AK is the equivalent of, let's just take a quick look, 1. So there would be 3 hits. And then we look at armor. There's no armor on an AK, so we don't actually have to roll anything for armor. So what we would do is we go ahead and take this little red dice, set it to the number 3, and then when we did damage resolution, we would treat this as if it got 3 equivalent hits. So it's pretty straightforward of a game. In this case, I'll keep going with this quick example. You've got 3 penetrating hits. We go ahead and grab 3 die 12. And then we go ahead and roll them and see where the hits actually took place. So in this case, the 6, which is our first hit, we got 2 6s. They would be 2 bulkhead hits. So we come down to the AK, we grab our marker. We go ahead and mark off the bulkhead as being completely destroyed at this particular point. We'd go ahead, that also means flooding, by the way. Then we go ahead and take the number 10. The number 10, according to our chart, says, let's see, on an AK, a number 10 is an engineering hit. So in this case, he's lost all movement. So usually when we get to the morale phase, he'd probably bail, but you never know. He might succeed. So that's pretty much how that works. You'll see more and more of this, how we actually play when we get to the actual scenario. Speaking of the scenario, let's get going. So in this particular case, we have the Admiral Graf Spee, which is a pocket battleship. It's a Deutschland class. Very, very effective ship. And we have a really, really large merchant convoy protected only by the Blakeley, the Renshaw, the Farragut, and the Green. So this is probably going to be a pretty one-sided battle, but you never know. As long as we can get in torpedo range, the destroyers might have a chance. So in this game, your phases are broken up into a couple different groups. You have damage control phase, where you roll the control fires, fix damage. You have tactical plot phase, where basically you're going to predict where you're going to move, and you're also going to declare torpedo attacks at that time. You have a movement phase where you actually are going to move all your ships simultaneously, which is why we write everything down. We have a torpedo attack phase. After everybody moves, the torpedoes get to do their thing, assuming they're in range. Hopefully we'll get some of that later. We have a detection phase, only if we're at nighttime, so it's not relevant here. And then we have a gunnery phase, which there's going to be quite a bit of, especially out of the Graf Spee himself. All right, so let's go ahead and get going. So the damage control phase, no damage control at this point. Tactical plot phase. Nobody is in torpedo range at this particular point, so we're going to leave torpedoes out, but we will plot our maneuvers. So I'm going to treat all these ships as just moving a total of 10 centimeters that direction in the entire game. 10 centimeters is roughly 5 inches, so it's going to keep things pretty easy. But I'm going to go ahead and leave that out for now, just to keep things focused on the destroyers. So the Blakeley, he spots the Graf Spee, and he knows that the only thing he can do is try to get up to full speed and hopefully get a torpedo attack in before the Graf Spee's 11.1-inch guns do the deed. So the Blakeley was already traveling 10 knots. He's going to accelerate up to 20. Destroyers have the ability to move up to 10 knots faster or slower each turn. So the Farragut's going to do the same thing, the Green's going to do the same thing, and the Renshaw is also going to do the same thing. All you have to do is write 20. The Graf Spee on the flip side, he's going to go ahead and plot his maneuver. He's very interested in trying to get so that he can use all of his guns to bring to bear on the escorts. He could start working the escorts over directly or start concentrating fire on the AKs that are kind of rolling along here. But that's... yeah, we're going to go ahead and move them the way I expect to. Plus, we get the opportunity to see what a turn looks like. Speaking of turns, in this game, turns are handled with this little thing right here that looks like this. Basically, what you have to do is if you're moving faster than 10 knots, you have to proceed 500 yards, which would be the equivalent of 5 centimeters in this case, and then you can start turning. Each point you move, a point is being about 15 degrees, takes away 2 knots of speed. So keep in mind the Graf Spee, if he's doing, let's say, 10 knots right now, if he wants to get up to 15 knots, he can move 2 dots, or 2 turn points at this particular point in his turn. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to order him to accelerate to 15 knots. He's doing 10, let's say. So that is the maximum speed he can accelerate. I'm then going to order him to take a port turn, and then you can go ahead and specify how many points of his port turn he's actually going to take. In this case, he's limited to 2-4, so we're going to do a 4 turn. You'll probably recognize that from Naval Thunder. It actually works pretty well. So now we are done with our tactical plot phase. Begin the movement phase. So the first people I'm going to move are all of the merchants here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab, this is actually something you can get off their website. It's pretty handy. The one I have on my table at home is actually, I took a piece of basswood and basically glued it to the back of it, printed it out a bunch of times. These guys are proceeding at 10 knots, so they did. Our Blakeley here is going to be proceeding at 20 knots. If I was smart, I would have grabbed everybody else and moved them together. 20 knots. We're going to get them all the way up to 30 as soon as we possibly can so that we might have a chance of getting in good gun range of the Graf Spee. So he's moving 20 knots. Scooting over here, this guy's also going to be moving 20 knots. And the Graf Spee himself, if you remember, he's actually taking a turn. We can use the top half of this, or if we choose, we can actually use the bottom half of this one. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this right here. Again, remember, we have to advance a total of 5 points, and then we can actually start the turn. So remember, we called for 2 points, so 14 to 12, or if you prefer, since we're taking a turn to port here, we're going to go ahead and do this, and then we're going to go ahead and do this. It's actually going to be more like that. Move it directly to the center, and this guy has completed his turn. Pretty straightforward. It's different. You kind of get the hang of it as you play the game. All right, now we move on to our torpedo attack phase. Now we move on to our detection phase. Now we move on to the gunnery phase. So gunner and fire in this game, you can do it in any order because damage takes place at the end of the turn, which is kind of cool. So as usual, you're not supposed to be pre-measuring, but we're cheating, so too bad. In this game, you measure center to center or foremast to foremast. You just got to make sure you go ahead and agree on what maneuver you're going to do. So in this particular case, taking a look at my tactical situation, we're going to do the Graf Spee first. Taking a look at pretending as if a ship was like this. You've got 3 guns for the primary battery in the front, 3 in the back. You've got 2 sets of 4. You've got a couple sets of these secondaries, and you also have a couple sets, actually 3, of these 4.1-inch secondaries, which are, you know, they're not too bad. We're certainly going to make use of them today. So we're going to open up the beginning today nice and simply by using just our 11-inch guns directly at the Farragut. So I'm going to declare that attack. I'm going to go ahead and measure center to center, which gives me a total distance of 37. Now, if you remember, that is not a metric unit. That's actually inches. So if we wanted to convert exactly, we'd actually have to come over here and go like this, and then we'd have to go ahead and remember it's 100 yards, which gives us 94 9,400 yards range. Personally, if you are in a rush, what I would recommend doing is simply taking whatever the measurement that you do get in this program and just basically multiplying by 2 so that you can have a fairly good idea of where it is. And of course, add some zeros, but you can see that accuracy-wise, it's not exactly the same. So we'll go ahead and be honest with ourselves. So he's 9,400 yards away. So let's go ahead and take a look here. So for the Kriegsmarine gun combat results table, 9,400 yards is actually a 12,000 meter, because we have to read to the next one up. But things are made extra complicated because of the fact we're attacking him with an 11-inch gun and he's a destroyer. So that brings us to the 15,000 yard category, which says we have a 1+2 to hit, and we have the penetration of a battlecruiser. So we have 3 guns, which does not evenly divide by 2, which is it's annoying. Basically, what you do is you roll for them. You roll it as normal. In this particular case, we're going to round up. But in other cases, you'll round down if you have, depending on this type of turret and the style of turret. We're going to go ahead and round up. So I'm going to go ahead and grab these 2 dice. We're going to go ahead and roll. Remember, we need a 1+2 to hit the Farragut. So we have 2 hits, and that's it. So we get 2 hits. Now here's where it gets a little complicated. By the way, they're both penetrating hits on the Farragut. So now what we have to do is take the 11 inches and see what the equivalent number of equivalent hits is. Because remember, it's an 11-inch gun against a tiny destroyer. So let's see, 11 times, 2 times 3 is going to be the equivalent of 6 penetrating hits on our poor destroyer here. So that was a hell of a hit. So let's go ahead and leave that on there right there. The Graf Spee, of course, is not finished yet. So he's actually going to leave out his secondary batteries for this particular engagement. He'll wait until he gets a little bit closer. He doesn't want to complicate his firing solution at this range. All right. So let's go ahead and move on. So now the Americans are going to do their thing. So the Farragut, of course, is going to try to attack the Graf Spee. Lucky for us, the range is still 9,400 yards. Let's look at the Farragut. He has a 5-inch gun, and it looks like he has 2 up front. 2 divided by 2 is going to be 1. We hit a single die. Taking a look at the 5-inch category for Americans at 9,400 yards. It's a 1+, and there's no penetration possible on the Graf Spee. So 1+ means a 1 or a 10. I don't think this is going to end well, but you never know. 6, so that's a miss for the Americans. Swing and a miss. If we were a little closer, we could actually employ rapid fire, but we're going to leave that out until we can at least cross his T. The Blakeley's feeling pretty lucky here. 45, again, if we grab a calculator, 45.2.54 is 114, so it's 11,400 yards away. 11,400 yards for us with that teeny tiny little 5-inch gun. Brings us up to the 12,000 yard category. It's a 1+, and we can't possibly penetrate. The good news, though, is because the Blakeley here has all his guns on the port side ready to go, he gets to use 2 dice. So we're going to be rolling either a 1 or a 10 for a hit here. And you can guess how this is probably going to come out. Oh, so close. So that's a swing and a miss also. So not so good for the Americans. I think the green is actually, yeah, oh boy, that's going to be a heck of a shot. That's 142,240 yards, almost 15,000 yards. A 5-inch gun at 15,000 yards gives us a 1. So if we get a 1, we can actually hit the Graf Spee. We'll see what happens here. That's a 6. That's also a miss. Everybody else is either block line of sight or out of range. So that's the end of the shooting phase. Now we move to the damage phase. So the Farragut, unfortunately, received 6 penetrating hits. So we're going to go ahead and grab the dice. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're going to see what damage actually befell the poor Farragut. Go ahead and roll it. I always like to organize them numerically, but that's just me because I'm weird. Let's see, we have a 2, 3, 5, a 7, 10, and 11. Okay, here we go. So the 2, taking a look here, we get our first torpedo tube and searchlight hit. So I'm going to go ahead and remember hitting the Farragut here. Don't mark the wrong card. We come to Farragut. We're going to go ahead and scratch off 1 torpedo tube. That is done for the game. And we've also lost our searchlight. So that 2 is out of the way. Now we're going to go to the 3. The 3, taking a look at our handy-dandy chart, says we lose a torpedo tube mount, which is really unfortunate because the only way we're going to hurt the Graf Spee today is with those 2 torpedo tubes that literally just got wrecked. So now we're going to go ahead and take a look at a 5. A 5 for a destroyer gives us a gun mount. So we get to pick what gun mount gets hit. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the gun mount in the back. So that's good. We get a 7. A 7 for a destroyer counts as 1 hull box. Oh, that's depressing. So the poor Farragut has gotten dinged up enough here that it's actually lost speed. Its top speed is only going to be 30 now. So now we get a 10. A 10 is an engineering hit. So an engineering hit means that we're going to circle this guy right here to let us know that our engineering has been dinged. That means we can't exceed that speed until we fix it. We might fix it next turn. You never know. And number 11, let's see what this does. We lose a second gun mount. In this case, again, I'll take it in the back. So from single shell, you can see he's a little worse for wear, but you never know what happens. Unfortunately, none of our shells hit the Graf Spee, so he's having a pretty good day so far. So now that's the end of that first turn. We now move on to the second turn. First thing we do is what they call damage control time. So right now, the only damage control this guy has is going to be to try to fix that to see if it's possible to keep going. So taking a look at my damage control chart here, let's see, engines plus rudder. To fix it, I need a 1 to a 5. All right, good luck. Let's see what happens. A 2, excellent. So this means during damage control, maybe that damage wasn't quite as bad as they expected it to be. So they're actually able to repair the engineering, which means they can get up to 30 knots this turn, which is excellent. Now we go to the tactical plot phase. So we're going to go ahead to the Blakeley first. Is the Blakeley in a spot where he can do... No, he's got to cross the T here. So Blakeley, of course, is going to accelerate and get all the way up to 30. The Farragut here, he's pretty confident. He's going to go up to 30 also. The green, also going to move up to 30. The Renshaw, just keep going, guys. We've got to get close enough to use torpedoes, otherwise we are toast. Graf Spee on the flip side is going to do the exact same thing he did last turn with one teeny tiny little adjustment. Turn 2, he's going to move forward 5. I did this one backwards actually last time, but that's okay. He's going to move forward 5. He's going to take a, he's going to do 2 points to the left. I did that one wrong too. 2 points to the left, and then he's going to be going to a speed of 20. So that's 2, 4, plus 5 is 9. Then he can move 11 inches. Okay, looks good. All right, begin. So everybody on the American side is going to be scooting ahead basically at full blast here, doing 30, doing as best they can to close the range on the Graf Spee. Yes, it makes it easier for the Graf Spee to do what he does best, but the advantage being that if we can get in torpedo range, we might actually be able to have a chance. Let's go ahead and place this here. We're going to zip ahead to 30. And we're going to go ahead and place these guys here. We're going to go move all our AKs in just a second. So go ahead and place this here. Always highly recommend trying to get them all at once. All right, these guys are going for it at 10 knots. Of course, if they can cross out of the range, we're good. So let's go to the Graf Spee. So we're going to go ahead and grab this guy. Remember, he's got to move 5 centimeters forward. Then he's going to move his first point. Then he's going to move his second point. So it's perpendicular. And now we get to move the rest of his 11, which means he's perfectly crossing the T on the poor Farragut. I don't think he's going to have a very happy day after this. Good to go. All right, so now we move into the torpedo phase. There was no torpedoes. A detection phase, nothing to detect. Gunnery phase. So the Graf Spee is going to destroy... Oh, we don't need this anymore. The Graf Spee is going to level the Farragut. So in order to do so, he's going to be using his 2 main batteries, which gets us 3 dice, because now we have 3 and 3 is 6 divided by 2 is 3. He's also got his 5.9s, and he's going to use his 4.1s on the poor Farragut here. So cross your fingers for the Farragut. I don't think he's going to get very far. So to do this, it's actually pretty straightforward. The only catch this time is since multiple battery types are attacking the same ship, we have to actually shift up a row. All right, first things first, we're going to go ahead and range. Center to center gets us 22. 22 times 2.54 is 5,600 yards away. So taking a look at the 11-inch gun for 5,600 yards. Let's see here. That gets us 6 inches, or 6,000 is the next highest, but we have to shift it up 1 because of the fact that we're attacking a destroyer, and we have to shift it up 1 again because of the fact that we're going to be lowering every battery we've got on him. So it gives us a 1 plus 2 on 3 dice. All right, let's see what happens. Sorry, Farragut. Okay, so 2 hits. 2 hits. Okay, so 2 hits. So the equivalent on this guy would be 3 hits per 1 hit on an 11 inches. So that gives us a, oh boy, 6 hits on the poor Farragut here. So that's 6 so far. So now the Graf Spee is going to attack him with his 2 5.9 inches. Let's see, we're at 6,000 yards, 5.9 inch here. We have to shift up once because of all the batteries sitting in the water the same. That gives us a 1 plus 3 on 2 dice. Nope, nope. Okay. Lucky there, lucky there, lucky there. Doesn't mean anything, but we'll see how this plays out in a second. So last but not least, we've got the 2 little red batteries there, the 4.1 inch guns. These guys are actually unarmored. So since they're unarmored, we get 2 of them. The dice to roll this time on a 4.1 inch battery at 6,000 yards is 1 plus 2, but we have to shift that up once because of all the gunfire, so it stays at a 1 plus 2. Let's see what happens. So that's 1 hit, and that's 12. That is a miss. So we get 1 more hit. Now there's no armor on the destroyer, which unfortunately means that that is another penetrating hit for the poor Farragut here. Okay, so the Graf Spee is done declaring its attacks. We don't actually know the effect of the attacks right away. We got to see what happens. Okay, so the Farragut gets a single dice to attack him with. Taking a look here, he's 6,000 yards away. There's nothing special going on. 5-inch gun is a 1 plus 3. So we get a 1, a 10, a 2, or a 3, and we actually can get a hit here. Let's find out what happens. That's a 12, a swing and a miss. So the Farragut does not connect with the Graf Spee. So the Blakeley, of course, is going to go ahead and attack the Graf Spee also. His range is 27.3 times 254. Gets us to 7,000 yards. So 7,000 yards, it's still in his... Oh, didn't mean to do that. It's still in his side arc, so he gets to use 2 dice. Let's take a look at what happens here. 5 inches, 7,000 yards would be 9,000, but we have to shift it up because of the fact the other guy is also firing at him. So we get 2 dice, and it's going to be a 1 or 10. I don't think this is going to happen, but you never know. Nope, nope. Okay, for shame, for shame. So the green, I think we got a... No, we actually have line of sight on the green. It's a single dice. What is the range of the green, anyway? That's 10,160 yards away, so it's possible. It's just unlikely. We can't give up. Let's see, it's 12, but we got to shift, so we get a 1. So if we roll a 1, we can actually hit him. That is an 11. Not the kind of 1 we needed. Renshaw, I'm pretty confident, does not have line of sight. Nah, I'll go right through the AK. So that's it for the gunnery phase. So the Americans are not doing so well. I have a feeling the Farragut is not going to be surviving this. So unfortunately, the Farragut now gets 7 hit rolls. So we're going to go ahead and grab this and go ahead and give this a quick little roll. I'm going to get rid of these dice. And let's go ahead and organize those to make it a little quicker to read the chart. That is a 2, 3, that is a 6, that is a 7, that is an 8, that is a 9, that is, at least there's no 12s. Alright, starting with the number 2. 2 on the poor destroyer here is a Torpedo 2 plus a searchlight. Too bad. A 3 is a Torpedo 2 mount. Okie doke. A 6 is a hull box. Uh-oh. Hull boxes are bad. We just got our maximum speed limited. A 7, let's go ahead and take a look at what the 7 equivalent here is another hull box. Uh-oh. So the Farragut's top speed is now only 16. This was a really, really good hit. An 8 is also a hull box, which means his new top speed is actually all the way down to 11. He's going to need a morale roll next turn because he's more than half destroyed. He gets a 9. A 9 counts as a bulkhead. This is really bad news because he might actually flood out, but we'll see what happens next turn. Notice I circled that. And then last but not least is a 10. A 10 counts as an engineering hit. Okie dokie. So that doesn't really affect us. I'm just going to write a little E here to remind us that it's still hit because we need another engineering hit to actually do more damage. Okay, so now we end with damage control. We go over to, damage control phase. So the Farragut is in pretty bad shape. He's got to fix his bulkhead before he fixes anything. Because if he floods, and that's pretty much game over. So he's going to go ahead and give this a crack real quick. He needs to score a 6 or less to fix the hole in his ship. That's a 4. Excellent. So the bulkhead in this case actually did not do enough damage. Perfect. So, ouch. His engines are still fried, but he's good to go. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and plot. So the Blakeley is still in pretty good shape. Actually, let's go see where the Blakeley is before I do something stupid. Nope, the Blakeley is exactly where I want him to be. So the Blakeley is going to continue. He's actually going to go right up to 35 knots. The Farragut, he's having a pretty rough day. Let's take a look here. There's no way he's going to be able to get in torpedo range. Okay. So remember, his new top speed is 11, but keep in mind that we were still doing 30, so we're only going to lose 10 of that, so we get to keep 20. He's going for it. Where's our green? Green, just keep going, man. Keep going. Take it right up to 36. The Renshaw, same thing. I'm sorry, 35, not 36. The Renshaw, same thing, man. Get up to 35. The Graf Spee on the flip side he's feeling pretty comfortable where he is. You can see the Blakeley trying to sneak up on him there, but I'm just going to allow this guy to basically go straight this turn. Turn 3, he is going to go ahead and proceed. He was doing 20 knots, so that's going to take him up to 25, I believe. Yeah, 26 is our top speed. All right, so now we go ahead and move everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and place this here. He's going to move his 26 knots, which puts him here. The Blakeley is going stupidly dangerously fast here. But I'm hoping it's going to put him in torpedo. Yeah. Oh, boy. All right. That was a mistake. I should have turned him a little bit. Oh, well. So the Renshaw is also going to be scooting along here at 35. The Farragut is only going to be scooting here at 20. And then our poor little green back here is also going to be scooting along at 35. And all of our big army of AKs, those guys are going to keep going at 10. And we are good to go. All right, now it's time to do some gunnery. So the Graf Spee realizes that he's got a bit of a problem. That Blakeley is probably going to fire torpedoes next turn. The problem, of course, being in this particular case that it's going to be out of the arc. The Blakeley really should have turned at the last second there to try to get that free hit. I'm not going to go back and change it, but that was foolish. So the Graf Spee at this point sees the Blakeley sneaking up on him. He knows the Farragut's taken a lot of pepper. So he's going to go ahead and remove the Blakeley's mortal coil here. So we're going to go ahead and measure that. That's 9.4 times 254. Gets us a 2,400 yard range. So I'm taking a look at the 11-inch guns. 11-inch guns at 3,000, but we have to shift up to it's a 1 plus 3. So we have 6 guns, but we only get to use, we have to have that. So 1 plus 3 against the poor Blakeley here. So we get 1 hit. No, we got 6 hits times 3, which should be, oh boy, 6 hits times 3 is 18 hits. I don't think he's coming back from this. You never know. That's what happens when you drive up next to a gigantic angry ship. I'm actually not going to keep shooting. I'm pretty sure that's going to be enough. We're now going to go ahead and use our, let's see here, what do we have left? 5.9-inch guns, and we're going to try to attack the Renshaw. All right, it's 26 inches times 254 is 6,600 yards. 6,600 yards. Let's see what we have here for guns. Notice I'm using a different target here. I get 2 dice. 6,600 yards on a 5.9-inch gun is 1 plus 3 to hit. So I get my 2. 1 plus 3 to hit. So we get 1 hit. But you have to, is there an equivalent hit though? Let's take a look. 5.9 on a destroyer is an equivalent hit times 1.5. So we have to now roll. If this number is odd, then it counts as 2 hits. Yes, so he takes 2 hits. Those are both going to be penetrating hits on the poor Renshaw here. And the Graf Spee is also going to use his 4.1-inch guns against the Farragut, who's already had way more than enough of its share of bullets so far. So taking a look, the range to the Farragut in this particular case is, let's see, 16.9 times 254. That gets us a 4,200 yard range. 4,200 yard range goes up this. It's a 1 plus 2 to hit. And, whoa, I didn't mean to do that. No. A 1 plus 2 to hit. We'll go ahead and see what happens here. How many do I have? 1, 2. 1 plus 2 to hit. I get 2 dice. Nope. And 1 plus. Yes, 1 hit. 4.1 inches against a destroyer. You actually have to roll to see if it even does any damage. An odd number means it does do damage. An even number means it does not. Interesting. So the shell actually hit, but it didn't do any damage. So that's actually pretty lucky. All right. Now it is time for the escorts to try to do anything they can do here. So the Blakeley, it's only fair if the Graf, Spee, and the Blakeley were in each other's arcs here. So the Blakeley is going to go ahead and open up with this main battery of 5-inch guns here. The range in this particular case, I believe, was not much. Yeah, so we're going to be doing that at that particular table. Taking a look, it's a 1+3, and it can penetrate light cruiser armor. One hit. So let's see what's going to happen. That might even penetrate. So let's see. It does not penetrate armor. Equivalent hit-wise, this is considered a BC. It has a double dash, which means the bullets do not penetrate. So the Graf Spee is feeling pretty lucky right now. Let me just take a look here if it's even possible for any of my guys to penetrate that armor. Taking a look. Again, let's double check the armor class. CA, can I even penetrate that ever? Oh, I take it back. It's times half. So we might still have a hot shot. So we need an even number. Oh, odd number. Yes, we got a hit. Sorry about all that. Okay, first hit. All right, now we'll move on to the Farragut, which, believe it or not, still has one shot left. So taking a look at my chart here, we have a 1+3, and it can penetrate light armor. So let's see what happens here. Nope. So the green is going to go ahead and try to attack. It's only got one battery here. 27 times 254 is 69, so we're using the 9,000 chart here. But we have to shift up. It goes to 1+. We shift up because everybody else is shooting at it too. 1+. 3. Nope. The Renshaw is also going to try to join in here. That's also going to be 1+. 10. Yeah, that's another hit. So let's take a look here. At that range, it can penetrate CS armor. Our bad guy is a CA, not bad guy. A CA, let's see here, does that get penetrated? No. So taking a look, CS times half. Okay, so just because it doesn't penetrate doesn't mean it won't do damage. This needs to be an odd number to do damage. Odd number, yay! Okay, so that was interesting. So we'll go ahead and do the Graf Spee's damage first, just to be nice. So we're going to go ahead and roll these two dice here. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the chart. Go ahead and remove this, we don't need it right now. So we get an 8 and a 12. So the 8 on the Graf Spee, since he's a CA, is a hull box. But since he's armored and it did not penetrate, he only takes half a hull box of damage. So we're just going to put a half line here. The 12 is actually a critical hit. So the critical hit, I don't know if it's really going to do any damage here because it won't penetrate. But we'll see what actually happens. 1 or 2. 7. 7 is an ammunition hit. Unfortunately, it doesn't penetrate the armor, so it's ignored. So lucky you, Graf Spee, lucky you. Now we're going to go ahead and do the Renshaw, because he has 2 penetrating hits. That's pretty easy to do. Let's see what happens to our poor Renshaw this time. A 7 and a 6. I'm pretty sure those are both going to be hull hits. 7 and 6, yeah, 2 hull boxes on the Renshaw. So the Renshaw has just lost a little bit of his speed also. So this one goes bye-bye, and this one goes bye-bye. So that means his new top speed is 23. That's unfortunate. Now it's time for the poor Blakeley with 18 rolls. Let's see here. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okie dokie. Alright, Blakeley. Try this. Whoops. I need my dice back. Come on. Well, somewhere out there is another dice, but he's fallen into the ether and we will never see him again. Oh well. Okay, let's go ahead and begin here. What we really need to do in this particular case is add up to see how many 6s, 7s, and 8s we have. Because if we have enough of those, there's really no point to doing any of this because the destroyer is as good as sunk. Okie dokie. Of course, if we have any 12s in this group too, that's going to make things interesting. Wow. Okay, so why am I adding 6s, 7s, and 8s up first? I'll show you why. Because, who is this we just dinged up? This is the poor Blakeley. The Blakeley, if you look, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hull boxes. So if you got 6 6s, he's actually sunk, and I don't have to do anything else. So there's 1, there's 2. Ah, this might be his lucky day. Any 7s? Any 8s? Oh, 3. That's incredible. No critical hits either. All right, so he loses 3 hull boxes. We'll start there. This is in the poor Blakeley. 1, 2. You better get his torpedoes off next turn, or this is going to be a really poor game. All right, so these are done. So we have 1, 2, 3 ones. One counts as a depth charge plus fire. So now he's got 1, 2, 3 fires on him. Yeah, it's a good time to abandon ship, I think. Don't need these right now. My fire fell over. Stand up fire. That's not the best way to do it, but we have a pretty good idea that he's burning pretty bad right now. We'll have to see what happens next turn. That fire might actually get him. Alright, what else do we need? We got all the ones. These are out of the way. Oh, he also lost his depth charge. Where are you, poor Renshaw? Was it Renshaw or was it Blakeley? Blakeley. Alright, Mr. Blakeley, you've lost all of your depth charges. They're gone. Now let's go ahead and see. Oh, there's another one! Oh, man, that means he's got 4 fires! Oh, I feel like you're having a bad day. So let's see, he loses both torpedo tubes. Which means he also loses his searchlight. That was a hell of a good shot. That's what happens when you drive up alongside the battleship with a destroyer, I guess. Let's see, we have 3. What's 3 do to us? Torpedo tube mount, doesn't matter. Go ahead and put those away, don't need them. We have a 4. This is when the game can slow down, especially when you're doing big battleships or something like that. A 4 is a gun mount, so he's going to lose 2 gun mounts. I always do the inside ones, so I always have maximum whatever. Alright, now what else do we have here? We have 2 5s. 2 5s is more gun mounts, so he's actually out of guns. So he's going to have to do a... I keep confusing which one's which. It's the Blakeley who's sinking here. So he's actually out of guns. And he can't fire torpedoes. So then we have 3 9s. 9s count as bulkhead hits. Oh boy. So, yeah, I'm pretty confident he's done. So it's 3 bulkhead hits. Okay, so somehow the destroyer still exists. But, it's completely gutted. Okay, so, that's the end of that damage phase. Let's go ahead and go to the damage control phase, speaking of which. So, the Blakeley right now is on fire with 4 fires, and it has 3 bulkhead hits. I'm going to go ahead and do a morale roll for him, because I don't think he's coming back from this anyway. This would be a pretty good time to abandon ship. Between a 1 and a 7, because he's got no criticals anything left. So he rolls a 2. He actually chooses to stay on board. So we're going to go ahead and try to solve this flooding first, because fire doesn't do as much damage as flooding does. So we have 3 hits on that. We only get to do 1 dice, though. Our damage control is a 1 to a 6. 5. Hey, we fixed 1 of the bulkhead hits. So we're just going to remember that we still have 2 of those to go. Okay, so now we have to add up all the damage all that damage just did. So he still has 2 bulkhead hits, which means we take 2 more hull points of damage. And he still has 4 fires, which is 1, 2, 3, and goodbye, Blakeley. So the Blakeley has succumbed to his injuries, and he is no longer with us. So normally what you do is you take a dice, and you roll it like this, and this is how many turns before he goes under. 4. Okay, so in about 4 turns, he's going to be completely buried under the water. So thank you for your service, Blakeley. There we go. Okay, cool. So now we move on. So we're going to go ahead and do the tactical plot phase. So this has not been a good fight for us. So the Blakeley, I was really hoping he'd be able to cut off the Graf Spee and torpedo him, but this battle just got hopeless. But we'll try. We'll try. You never know. Okay, so the Farragut, if you remember, is a reduced top speed of 11. So the Blakeley, I'm actually going to take you and flip you over because you are no longer with us. So the Farragut is going to lose another 5 knots. Turn 4. Let's plan this. Or 10 knots, I should say, because he's a destroyer. Oh, what are we going to have him do? Does he got anything? What does he have left? He's got 2 guns in the front left. So I could do a chase, but I really need to get in torpedo. He can't get into torpedo range. Oh, boy. Well, we're going to have to keep pecking at him and get as close as we can then. So we're going to go ahead and order him to come forward 5. Then he's going to take a turn towards starboard. He's, what's his speed right now? 20 minus 10 is 10 knots, but his max speed is 11. So that's 5, 11. We'll do a 4-point turn, would be 8. 8 into, it'd be 3. We don't have enough speed to do that. So we can take a, let's see, 11 minus 5 is 6. We can do a 3-point turn towards, yeah, we'll do that. That's the best I got. Let's see. The green is still feeling pretty good. So I'm going to have the green actually kind of do one of these. So he's going to do, if you do a really gentle turn, you don't actually have to make a note of it, which I actually think is kind of nice. So turn 4, he's essentially going to be taking a teeny little turn to the right, but I'm going to keep him going 34 knots. The Renshaw, you've got to cut off the Graf Spee and try to get him with your torpedoes. Oh, I feel bad. I missed him. I forgot to put his deck log together last turn. Turn 3, 35. Turn 4. What does he need to do? Is that a gentle enough turn? Yeah, we got this. We got this. So I'm going to have him come forward 5. Then he's going to take a gentle turn to starboard. It's going to be a 1-point turn to starboard, which is going to cost us 2 out of 35. It's 28. And he's going to come forward 28. Okay, cool. Graf Spee, and meanwhile, is like, aha, you guys cannot stop me. I am the Graf Spee. Turn 4, he's going to cruise along. He's actually going to slow down a little bit so you can kind of keep everybody in his line of sight. Okay, so let's begin with the Farragut. Remember, the Farragut was the first victim here, so he's going to come forward 5. Oh, wait a minute. He's turning. I'm sorry. He's going to come forward 5 up to this line right here, and then he's going to do a 3-point. 1, 2, 3. And that's that. All right, the Graf Spee is going to keep cruising around. He's going to get up his 25 knots. He's going to make it difficult for the Americans before he does his tight turn to kind of come swing around and cut the other way and do the U-turn. So taking a look at the green here, he's just going to keep on going. Remember, I asked him to do a gentle turn. If you do a turn less than a point, you can do basically like a little, almost like a half turn, I like to call it. So we're going to go ahead and scoot up 35 knots here. It's still not in torpedo range, though. We're trying. We're definitely trying, and I think that's outside of his... Yeah, it is. Okay, the Renshaw on the flip side. Let's see. We've ordered him 5, starboard 128. So he's going to come forward 5. He's going to take his 1 point of turn there. I overdid that. And he's going to come forward 28 knots. That almost puts him in range of torpedoes, but unfortunately it does not. Meanwhile, the convoy, they move forward a little bit, and we are good to go. Okay, now it's time to declare targets. So let's see, the Graf Spee naturally realizes that the American destroyers are coming forward at full power, so it's definitely feeling a little bit of pressure here. Especially, he knows the Farragut can never catch up, because he's just going to come whipping around like this and scoot through and cut the convoy apart. He knows that the Renshaw, though, is probably still pretty dangerous, and he knows the green has been completely unscathed. So he's going to use his main battery against the Renshaw. He's going to use all his secondary batteries against the green. So actually, main, secondary, tertiary. Sounds good. So the Graf Spee is going to go ahead and check the range there. It's 13.6 times 254. It's 3,500 yards. Using an 11-inch gun against a destroyer comes at a penalty. So that goes up to this. So we need a 1 plus 3, and we get to use 3 dice. 1 plus 3. Let's see what happens. Nope, nope, no! That's the first time that's happened this game. So all the main batteries actually miss the Renshaw. So now he's going to attack with his 2 tertiary batteries at the green. Let's go ahead and check the range of the green there. That's 4,600 yards. 4,600 yards with a 5.9-inch gun is a 1 plus 3. He has 2 guns on that side. Miss. 1 hit. So if let's take a look. A 5.9-inch gun attacking a destroyer, you get 1.5. So if this is an odd number, you count this as an extra hit. It is. So it counts as 2 penetrating hits on our poor green here. Come on, green. Hey, you're part of the club now, the Get Sunk Club. All right, he's now going to use his 2 tertiary batteries that can still target the Farragut. The Farragut here is, let's see, 19.9 times 254. That's 5,000 yards. So it's a less than 6,000. 4.1 on 6,000 is a 1 plus 2. He gets the 2 dice for it. Miss. 1 hit. 1 hit against a destroyer. However, with this little teeny tiny gun here, counts as a half, I believe. Yes, it does. No, it penetrates. Yeah, it still counts as a half. So we need to see if this number is odd or even. Even, it actually does no damage. This might be good news. Might be good news. We'll take a look. Okay, so now we have to go ahead and use the Americans to try to do their thing. So the Renshaw, I know, has been, he's doing pretty well so far. His stuff, oh, we forgot he got slowed down. Oopsies. So the Renshaw has they can look here. He's in the aft port, so he gets 2 dice. So let's go ahead and take a look. So it's going to be 2 dice to attack with his teeny tiny little 5-inch guns here. We're at this particular range, so we can penetrate light armor. We need to get closer to be able to penetrate the stronger armor. But he's going to go for a torpedo attack next turn. I'm convinced of it. So our attack here, 6, 5. It's a 1+3 to try to do any damage to the Graf Spee. Nope. And we got 1 hit on the Graf Spee. Scrolling down with my finger here, we're attacking armor, so we need to see if this number is odd to see if it actually does anything. It is odd. So the Graf Spee takes 1 non-penetrating hit from the Renshaw. Alright, taking a look over here at the Farragut. The Farragut, let's see here, what has he got left? He's got 1 gun up front. He's going to employ the rapid fire rule, because he's close enough to actually get away with it. So the rapid fire rule in this particular case, we get 6 turns in a row of rapid fire. It just gives us more chances to hit. So he only gets 1 dice, but he hits on, let's see, what's the range on the Farragut here. Checking one more time. That's a 6,000 yard. Okay, 6,000 on a 5-inch gun. It would be 1+3, but we have to shift it up because of the fact that Renshaw attacks. It's 1+2. So we get a 1+, a 1, a 10, a 2, an 11, or a 12 for the hit. So let's see how this actually plays out. Oh, 1 again. Okay. We need to see if it's odd, to see if it actually penetrates, or does anything. It is. So that counts as the second non-penetrating hit. Alright, it's the green's turn now. So the green has only got the front gun there. The green is also going to employ the rapid fire rule. So I have to make a little note. We can only do 6 rounds of rapid fire at a time. So he only has, both guns. He's going to rapid fire both batteries here. So we're hitting on a, let's take a look here, a 1, a 2, a 10, 11, or 12. 2 hits. Oh, 5 hits. Incredible. 5 hits. We need to roll to see if they're odd or even, though. So that counts as 5, and that counts. Okay, so 4 hits total. So we get 4 hits, and none of them, even come close to penetrating. So that gives us 6 hits on the Graf Spee. So let's go ahead and do damage. So we'll do the green first in this particular case. We'll grab 2 die. Go ahead and roll them. Let's see what happens to the poor green here. A 6 and a 3. A 6, this is the green again. A 6, let's see here for him, is a bulkhead hit. That's bad news. That means he's going to be flooding. A 3 for him. Let's take a look. A 3 is the torpedo tube. Just can't win today. So he's done. Now the Graf Spee, of course, has 6 equivalent hits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So maybe we'll catch him on fire or something. You never know. Okay, let's see what we got here. We got a critical hit. At least it's that. 5, 6, 3, 2, 4. Okay, let's see what happens. So the 2 for a cruiser counts as a torpedo tube plus a searchlight. So he's going to lose that. The thing's not protected, so he's going to lose that. He has a torpedo tube. It's on that side, so he's going to lose that one. He's also going to lose the searchlight. So that's set. He gets a 3, which is a secondary weapon gets hit. So the captain, of course, is not stupid. He opts to do one on the side that he doesn't care about, so he loses that one. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's the next dice. So that was the 2. So the 3, rather. Let's go ahead and take a look at a 4. A 4 is in an armored section. Main turret, no damage. 5 is also main turret, no damage, because it did not penetrate. A 6 is 1 hull box, but if you remember, it's only half a hull box because it kind of penetrated. That actually reduces the speed of the Graf Spee. So that's good news. And then we get a 12, which is a critical hit. Let's see what the critical hit actually equals this time, though. So that critical hit is a 5, which is an ammunition hit. Again, no damage because it doesn't actually penetrate the main magazine. So the Graf Spee he's getting, don't let anyone kid you. He's getting dinged up a little bit, but he's still going on pretty strong here. All right, now we move on to our next turn. We're going to go ahead and start with damage control. So the first things first, the green's got a bulkhead hit. So in order to fix that, he needs to get a, let's see here, 6 or less. So go ahead and roll that real quick. That's a 4. The bulkhead hit wasn't nearly as bad as it looked. Great news. Whoop. It helps if you use the eraser on something that you intend to erase. And we got, I think it was this one who got hit. Okay, good. Okay, so that's all set. So now we go ahead and do our tactical plotting here. So the Renshaw, there's no way in the world the Renshaw is going to be able to pull off a torpedo attack. If I recall correctly, the Renshaw, no, he still has the torpedo tubes intact, or I forgot to erase it incorrectly. Let's take a look. So the Graf Spee is going to go ahead and, wait a minute, nope. So the Renshaw's torpedo attack, if we were to do a torpedo attack, which again we wouldn't be able to do in this case, let me go ahead and put the torpedo marker up the side so you can see what would happen here. So the best I could do is attack him here. This is a green 5, and the torpedo would arrive, somewhere in here, but he'd be probably up here turning. So if anything, it'd be nice if I could turn and then go this way, which might actually be my plan for next turn, assuming there is a next turn for Mr. Renshaw. We'll see. By the way, this guy has now got 3 turns before he completely slips under the water. All right, moving on. So let's go ahead and do our plotting. So where's the Farragut? The Farragut's right here. How's he doing? He's got a top speed of 11 right now. So he's just going to keep going. Keep going, man. Keep going. It's not over yet. Turn 4, he's going to go 11. Does the Farragut need a... Yes, he needs a morale check. No, he took no additional damage, so he does not need a morale check. He's good. So he stays in the fight. Let's take a look at the green. The green's going to come forward and turn right. Has the green got any torpedo tubes? He's got 1 set left. What's that going to look like? That's going to be a hell of a turn. Yeah, if you put it this way, you can actually see it. So that is a 1, 2, 3 point turn. Okay, we'll do it. Now, the Graf Spee, the Graf Spee is going to turn next turn. He's not going to run out of map and then, whoop, I'd retreated. He's going to come around like this and try to probably get on the inside of the Renshaw and keep these guns this direction. Although, why would he do that? Because that then... This is an interesting conundrum. If I can put him here, then he still doesn't get a torpedo attack. If I can flip him around all the way, he still won't get a torpedo attack. Yeah, we need to get him... Okay, so we'll do... It's 1, 2, 3, 4 point turn. Okay, so for the green, he's going to come forward 5. He's going to take a turn to starboard. He's going to do a 5-point turn, which is 10, 15. The green's top speed right now is 35. We're already doing 35, so that gives him 20 that he can come forward. The Farragut, we're in turn 5, right? Yeah. So the Farragut, again, he's just going to do the best he can. He's going to take a nice gentle turn. 11. The Renshaw, where are you? What are you up to? He knows the Graf Spee is going to turn into him. So he's going to make things interesting. Now, does he have torpedo tubes, though? Yes, he does. He's got the working ones. Oh, this would be... this is really, really tricky. We don't know what the Graf Spee is going to do. We expect him to do a sudden turn or something like that to, again, cut us back off again. But it would be funny if I brought the Renshaw... Oh, I see what I need to do. If we pull the Renshaw up this way, if this is the Graf Spee pulls us this way, we might be able to get him on the side. Oh, this is risky. We're going to try. We're going to try. So we're going to take him forward. We're going to do a 3-point turn. I think it's going to be a 3-point turn. Hold on. 1, 2, 3. A 3-point turn. Then he's going to come straight. And you can't actually execute a second turn in this game, which is unfortunate. Okay. Let's try it out. The Renshaw, right? Yep. Okay. So, let's see. Turn 5. You're going to come 5. You're going to do a starboard turn. You're going to do a starboard turn that's a 3-pointer, 6-point. And that's going to leave you with, let's see, our speed is 35, but we got dinged up, I think. Yeah, 23 is our new top speed. So that's 6. It's 11 out of 23. So that would be 12. So we can do 12. All right, Graf Spee, meanwhile, is trying to keep the convoy. He's going to try to intercept that convoy if he can. So he's going to execute a nice and tight turn. It's going to be a big, big, big turn. 1, 2, 3, 4-point turn, which is a lot. So we're going to go ahead and say turn 5. He's going to come forward 5. He's going to turn to the starboard. He's going to do a 4-point turn, which actually makes him harder to hit. And let's see, that's 8. That's 13. 13 out of what is our top speed would be 23 right now. Will give us 10 knots left. All right, let's do it. So let's go ahead and move our convoy first this time. Cruising along at 10. Let's go ahead and do the Farragut. The Farragut is just, he's trying. He's trying. Let's grab the green here, 5S20. Let's go ahead and grab one of these guys real quick. Try not to accidentally run into the Blakeley. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. 3-point, I believe. There we go. And it's going to scoot forward 20. He's so small, he's not really affected. Actually, going to move him over just a teeny tiny bit so he's not bumping into this fire here. Normally you'd have to check for collisions in this case, but the target's not moving, so I'm not too worried about it. He's good to go. Let's see, the Renshaw here. The Renshaw's in good shape. What was his plan? 5 S3 12. Put that away for a second. Grab this one. So let's see, 5 S3 12. I must have put him on here. 5, 3. That puts him right up on the edge. No! Puts him right there. So the Graf Spee is like, what was this? Speaking of the Graf Spee's maneuver is 5 S4 10. So he's going to come forward minimum distance. He's going to take 4 points, which is going to put him like this. Then he's going to come forward 10. Ooh, that's that's going to be interesting. Don't need that anymore. Okay, so this is going to be a pretty bloody round between these two, but we'll see how that actually plays out in a second. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and take care of the fighting phase. So we're going to do the Graf Spee first. The Graf Spee is a jerk, so he is going to attack the Renshaw at point-blank range with his gigantic 11-inch guns, but in this case, it's not in the correct arc, I don't think. No, it is not. He's too big. So he's going to use his little stuff against the Renshaw, and he's going to use the big stuff against the green. He's going to use his other little stuff against the green also. Okay, so first things first, let's go ahead and get a range. So it's 9.3 times 254 is 2,300 yards. We have to shift that up twice because of this particular situation. 2,300 becomes a 1 plus 3. We get 3 dice for that. Miss. I guess his gunnery crew was getting excited. We're going to go ahead and do the next attack, which I believe on this particular... Whoa, missed. It's the 5.9-inch guns. He's got 2 on that side that he can bring to bear. We're going to use that attack against the Renshaw. 5.9 at that range, 1 plus 3. He's got the 2. 1 plus 3 against the Renshaw. 1 hit. 4 hits. 4 hits equivalent under Destroyer is a 1.5. Oh no, it worked out fine. No, we need to see if it actually makes a difference. 4 hits. Do we get 5 hits? Yes, 5 hits. Is it going to be 6 hits? 6 hits. So we get 6 penetrating hits on the poor Renshaw here. Let's go ahead and take a look at... Now we have the last attack against the green. He's going to be using his little tiny 4.1ers this time. Remember, these haven't really had much success at all today. He has 2 out back. 6 and an 11. Let's check on the 11 real quick. I don't know. It does not count. So that missed. Okay, so now it is the Americans' turn. So the Renshaw is going to let him have it with everything he's got left, which was, I'm hoping for torpedoes. 4.5 times, let's see here, 254. It's 1,100 yards. That would have been an amazing torpedo attack, but you have to declare torpedo attacks before you move. So unfortunately, the torpedo attack that's actually going to come against the Graf Spee is going to be coming out of this side, assuming the Renshaw lives. So that's pretty close range. No particular modifiers in this particular case. So 5-inch guns at that range is 1 plus 3 CA. We're going to use the rapid fire rule because we're actually in a range where we can penetrate the armor of the Graf Spee. So that's going to give us 2 dice. Come on, guys, you can do it. 3 hits. 4, 5 hits. So that's 5 hits with the 5.9. It does penetrate, but you have to do equivalent hits, which, let's see, 5-inch equivalent hits, you have to divide by 2. So that would be, first of all, I have to see if it's a half. Do we get 6? Yes, we do. So we get 6 penetrating hits on the Graf Spee. That was lucky. So, interesting how that played out. All right, the green is also going to attack the Graf Spee. He doesn't really have a choice. I think he's only got 1 gun left in the front, if I recall correctly, though. No, yeah. So he's only going to get a single dice. It's going to be, for him, 6 inches, shifted up 1. It's a 1 plus 3. And it can penetrate attack cruiser armor. So that's a miss. He wasn't, I didn't declare he used the rapid fire rule, because that would have been a hit if he did. Oh, look at that. We did use the rapid fire rule. Wink, wink, wink. Who was that? The Renshaw. That was the Renshaw. No, was it? Yeah, it was the Renshaw. All right, the Renshaw has done his rapid fire roll thing. Oh, that was the green. Come on, guys. You're supposed to tell me these things. Oh, I already declared that he did that once already. I guess the Renshaw also attacked with rapid fire, which we just made a note of. All right, so that's one more penetrating hit. The Farragut is 20 inches away. He's shooting through smoke. 6,000. Shifted up twice. It's CL armor 1+2. Does he have any guns left in the front? He does. He has 1 and 2 really. 1+2 is an 11. Does not count. Did he fire rapid fire also? Oh yes, he did. See, I marked a second ago. Wink, 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 wink. None of those, of course, will penetrate. So we need to see if it's a single hit. It is an even hit though, so it doesn't actually do anything. Okay, so that was interesting. So now we have 6 shots on the Renshaw, and then we have 7 penetrating hits on the Graf Spee. Let's see what happens. So we'll go ahead and start with the 2 hits on, or the 6 hits on the Renshaw, and see what happens. So grab 4, 5, 6. Let's see what we got here. Probably easier if I just bring. Whoa! Accidentally grab one of the merchant vessels. Go back where you belong. Okay, so the first thing we have, this is the Renshaw we're looking at here. So that's a 2. A 2 on the Renshaw. Let's see here. It's a torpedo tube and a searchlight. So he loses 1 of the torpedo tubes I really need next turn. And he loses a searchlight. Thank you. 3s, 4s. A 4 for him is a gun mount. So I get to pick which one gets hit. I'll take this one right here. No 5s. We have 1 6. A 6 counts as a hull box. Uh-oh. And then he just reduced his top speed to 23. Oh, it's 2 of those. Okay, he reduces his top speed to 11. We got a 7 here. A 7 counts as a hull box also. So this guy is going to have to do a morale roll. And then we also have a 9. A 9 in this particular case counts as a bulkhead. So now he's flooding. If he is unable to fix this flooding next turn, he'll actually sink. He'll also need a morale check, but we'll deal with that once that comes up. Time for the Graf Spee. The Graf Spee has 7 hits. So we'll see what happens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Come on, give me like 8 12s. Not even close. But we'll take what we can get, right? All right, let's go ahead and grab these dice and bring it over to the Graf Spee. Okay, so the first one we have here is a 1. 1 on a CA is a fire. Okay, so let's see here. So that's a fire. It also damages the float plane if he had one. He does have a float plane, but he can't launch it now. Okay, so that takes care of that one. He has a 3. A 3 is a secondary hit. He gets to pick which one gets hit. He's going to lose one of the little teeny guns. We already got that one, I thought. We did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, good. All right, so he has a 9. A 9 counts as a bulkhead hit. Interesting. That'll definitely level the playing field a little bit here. He has a 10. A 10 counts as a engineering hit. So that reduces his top speed to 17. Whoop. And he has 3 11s. 11s count as main turret, main turret, main turret. Oh. So, guess he doesn't have his 11-inch guns anymore. He will also need to take a morale check at the end of this because he'll probably be thinking about withdrawing. All right, so let's go ahead and move off to the damage control phase. So the Graf Spee realizes he's leaking, so he's going to try to get rid of that bulkhead roll first. He needs a 6 or less. Let's see what happens. That is an 8. So that remains, and he automatically loses another one of these. He's also got a fire, which you could not put out, which means he loses a half. So that was a really successful suicide run. Nicely done. So who dares wins, I guess. The Renshaw, even though he's about to quit the game because he's dinged up so bad. By the way, he does need a morale roll. So his morale roll for the Kriegsmarine, let's take a look here. He needs an 8 or 7 or less to stay in the fight. Interesting, just like history. So the Graf Spee has decided to withdraw, and he's going to expeditiously try to rip himself off this map. Okay, speaking of damage control, let's look at the Renshaw. The Renshaw needs to fix that bulkhead hit, so he needs a 6 or less. That's a 3. So he actually is able to repair this. This is exciting. Go ahead and grab the eraser. No cheating. And we're good to go. So that's it for damage control. So, interesting. So the Germans decide to withdraw, which doesn't surprise me at this point because he's dinged up pretty bad. He can actually still fire in self-defense, and we're going to have some fun because we can. So, that's pretty much the end of this fight. The American destroyers, what's left of them, I should say. I think the Green's the only one who's got anything really good for him. Yeah, he got dinged up pretty bad. Could probably try to like cut him off and stuff like that, and we could go on for quite a while. But instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to fast forward a little bit here. We're going to assume he puts the fire out. I'm going to go ahead and plop him right here, and the Renshaw came up alongside of him. And then the Green came up alongside of him somehow. And then the Farragut just crashed into this fire and burned. No, the Farragut's probably down here somewhere. So let's say we had a situation that looks like this. And what I want to do is I want to go ahead and attack the Graf Spee with torpedoes. The Renshaw and the Green are kind of got them wedged. We'll put that fire back, just to make it fun. So they're going to go ahead and do a torpedo attack. Now, torpedo attacks are declared on your deck log. And when you declare a torpedo attack, you have to specify which number and which depth you're attacking at. So in this case, let's say we're assuming he's going 10 centimeters. I want to probably use the R3 or the G3 for my particular attack. So what you would do at the beginning of the attack phase is you grab a torpedo launch. These guys are both doing it. We have to see if the Renshaw even had any torpedo tubes left. We're ignoring that right now. Taking a look down here. Yeah, he had 1. He could use a 4. And I think the Green also had a 4. So it's going to be 2 sets of 4. And then you do something like this. And then you'd secretly down here on your deck log. Let's say this is going on this turn. Make it so I can actually see my deck log. Let's say this magically happened. You know, we're going forward 10. Torpedo, red 3. And then we're going through like another 10 or something like that. And then the same thing here. Turn 6, we're doing 10. Actually, we shoot our torpedo first. Red 3, then we're going to go forward 20 or something like that. Again, this is just a quick little example. Because remember, the torpedoes launch before you move. And let's say the Graf Spee here is going 10 because he's, well, actually, how dinged up is he? He, 17. So he's going 17. It doesn't matter. 10's fine. So what you would do is then you go ahead and grab your movement tools. You go ahead and move everybody. The Farragut moves. All the merchant ships move. The let's say the Green moves to here. Let's see the Renshaw moves to here. And let's say the Graf Spee moves to here. So what would happen is when you get, after everybody moves, you'd go ahead and decide if any of the targets are in range of where the torpedoes were launched. In this case, I'm fairly confident they are. So what you would do then is you go ahead and grab this guy here, plop it down so that you can see what angle this is relative to the target you're attacking. So in this case, if you remember, we launched on red 3. Taking a look at our torpedo chart, our torpedo travels a total of 4,500 yards in a single range. That's the equivalent, by the way. Let's see here. I'm just trying to see if there's a handy-dandy speed here or there. I think it's like 45 or 36. Doesn't matter. 4,500 yards. So I put this here like this. And you can see that the total distance this torpedo actually would have traveled would be up here. Which means, if I do one of these kind of actions real quick, that Graf Spee is in range of a torpedo attack. In this case, it's actually in range of both of these torpedoes. Now, had I done something silly, like ordered, like, let's see, this would be starboard side, so it would be green 5, we would have missed, because if I were to draw like an arc, you see that none of the miniature of the ship is actually going, yeah, it doesn't get hit. So it's important that when you make that decision to fire, that you're hitting somewhere in here when it goes. So anyway, let's go ahead and resolve these torpedo attacks. So first thing we need to know is there's a possibility. It's 4.4 for both of those. So that's an 1,100 yard torpedo run, which is very short. We're attacking with a 4, which gives us, let's see here, let's double check. Dead in water, no. Target less than 15 knots. Yes, so we move up. So we have between a 1 and a 9 for both of these sets of torpedoes to actually hit. So we'll go ahead and roll them together because we're mean. That's a 6, and that's a 12. So 1 torpedo hits from, let's say, the Renshaw. But this is what's so cool. We get to take this dice now. We add 1 to it, and we roll again. So that's an 11. So we needed a 9 or less. But let's say something like this happened. you know, we grab this guy, and it actually turned out to be a 3. So then 2 torpedoes out of the 4 hit, and then we'd add 1 again. So instead of a 9, 8, 7 or less, yeah, so that would have missed. Let's say the 2 torpedoes hit. So then we go ahead and take a look at the mine and torpedo damage. For our trusty CA, we go ahead and roll 2 dice to see what happens. See, one is a 12, which is 2 hull hits plus a critical. The other one is a 1 hull plus something in the front gets damaged. So then we come over here, we'd mark off the 3 hull hits. We'd also lose something in the front. In this case, it would be this guy because he's the only thing left. He'd be down to 4 for his speed, but he also got a critical hit. Just for testing purposes, let's actually see what happened with his critical hit. So it's a 12, so that's a rudder jam. So that is kind of interesting how that played out. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I made a couple mistakes here and there, especially kind of order of operations, but hopefully that gives you a pretty good idea of what the game General Quarters 3 plays like. Enjoy!